Okay, hello, we are live. Let's turn off the music for now.
Okay.
It's E. Oh my gosh. E.
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 Maybe it's pronounced I.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ay.
Sounds like more Spanish than anything.
Yeah. Good to
You're
hear from you again.
lucky. So good to yeah. You guys are lucky. I'm supposed to be working, but I'm actually going to the airport to take a flight to the country in like 3 hours. I'm not at my office now,
Oh wow.
so
Oh
I
my
can join
goodness.
for a tiny bit.
All right.
Yes, please. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Well, thanks.
Speak for yourself.
We love E. Top tier programmer.
We do. He really
But
is.
I bet he's bailed you out more than a few times.
Oh, dude, he's saved my ass so many times.
Stop it.
Oh, it's so true. You know it's true.
I've done some coding, I guess. Yes.
I've done a thing once.
Okay, so we are here to interview Link and check in with him. Kind of a, what'd you call that?
A checkpoint.
Welfare check. We're doing a welfare check to see how Link is doing. See if he's lost his sanity yet.
Oh, I can give you the answer right here, right now.
Holy crap, Lucas, thank you for the follow.
Hey Dougal, Lucas2011 just followed you.
So, Link has, like many modders, I imagine, Link got impatient with the progress that the devs were making. Although they have been making fantastic progress, not fast enough for Link. He's taken it upon himself to try and add custom ships, aircraft, and other vehicles to the game himself. And right now we're looking at his fleet. I don't hear in-game audio. Link, are you talking?
I mean, I'm just hanging out, but
Okay,
my
so
audio's running.
yeah, I saw your PFP lighting up. So what are we looking at here?
me.
What is this? That looks like the Iowa. Is that the Iowa?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything
Missouri?
about any of the ships. I
You're the one adding them.
Sure.
I hope you know a little bit about them.
Yeah. So some of them float, others float, others turn. Right. I've seen them move.
Wait.
No,
I just like looking at that one bouncing up and down the water.
Yeah, that one's getting a little feisty. We gotta knock it back a little bit.
Well, it's kind of sexy. But, so, this is part of the neural net system that the developer unlocked not too long ago.
Yeah. There was the latest patch allowed me to start using this feature within Unity.
And that is a neural net AI designed to take the vessel that you've created or added to the game and apply buoyancy mechanics to it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think it's a very simple neural network. I think it's like a two neural network. I mean, I configure it very small, but yeah, it basically just figures out how to make it buoyant. In some cases, it works really well. In other cases, it makes huge vessels bounce up and down the water ridiculously. And that's my fault, right? But overall, it's makes implementation of buoyancy very easy.
Well, you know, it's one thing to shoot for a realistic interpretation as possible, but on the other hand, it's thematically pleasing.
Right?
It might be a bit much for this current sea state, I do admit.
Oh yeah, so it's a getting it up and running easy, right? Like you click a ship, you click a thing, and you make it train, and it's trained. You know, in my case, some pretty basic training is usually enough. And then it's just tuning it, right? Giving it some proper parameters, like, hey, don't bounce like a rubber ducky in the ocean. And this one is obviously configured to bounce like a rubber ducky in the ocean.
All right.
But then
Show us around your toy shop. What do you got for us?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Freaking. Oh, come on, switch over. It's still compiling, so we can't go back to Unity right now.
Show us around the fleet you have in front of us.
Yeah.
That
All
looks
right,
like
so,
the Bismarck.
This is the Bismarck, yeah. This is one of the first ships I did.
Oh yeah, I can see she is moving up and down the water, although not as much as the other one.
Oh yeah, it's a fun fact. The way the game handles the neural network and doesn't overload itself is right now this ship is buoyant and bouncy and doing its floating thing. But all the other ships, well, not all of them, but a lot of the other ships that are far away from us are basically static. Or not static, but they're, basically just a point vessel.
That makes sense.
Not doing anything.
It shuts it off if the player isn't close enough to appreciate it.
Yeah, and the closer you get to the ship, this one started bouncing because my camera is literally right here next to it, right? And it starts doing its thing. This one's still going off, but then you'll notice that, like, ship right here, perfectly still, and then it'll eventually, start kicking off, and it'll start doing its thing slowly. This one's pretty tight, right? So it's like not moving as much as that one.
Where's Nimrod? You'd appreciate that ship. That's the Italian
this is
battleship, isn't
Italian.
it?
This is a Littorio. Yeah, some of them I've learned. Some of them are really, like, obviously
hey, Tom,
recognizable. Yeah. And so, we got Littorio, we got some Italian ships, we got some German, like the Scharnhorst class, the Bismarck class. We have this, I think this is the Admiral class, maybe not, I don't know. There's an Admiral class. I mean, there's so many, I kind of just, like, I have a list that I just kind of, I can't remember them half the time, so I have to, like, go through my list and be like, which one is this again? Oh, yeah.
Are you only doing military? Or are you also...
That's all I got. Yeah, that's all I got right now. So start off, these are not my models. This is actually the models of a wonderful modeler called Thomas Burns. Probably Burns, but maybe Burns. I don't know. And I recently reached out to him and basically told him what I was doing. And I was like, hey, man, I'm using your work. And he was pretty excited. He was like, hey, man, very excited for that. And so here I am. Wow, that one really, really bounces. Yeah, so this is all of his models, and all I'm doing is just bringing them into the game. Doing some,
you did a bit more than that, didn't you? Haven't you been applying some effects to them?
Oh, yeah.
The guns to work?
Yeah, so here are all the ships that I've imported so far.
That's a lot of ships.
I know it's like, it's kind of just icons right now, but like Nuremberg, right? The Prince Eugene.
Algeria. You're slaughtering it. It's Prince Eugen.
Dude, Eugen? Oh, dude, I don't know, man. Look, if there was dumb Americans, like, they make me feel like stupider, right? I make them feel smart. Northampton, Tsar class.
Oh, Prince
right? There's
Eugen.
all these.
Gotcha.
I don't know, man.
Both
like
stop.
Prince Bob.
One of them has a slight problem on the right.
Yeah, so I was just talking to McDougall about this. So when you implement these ships and the neural network breaks or doesn't do its thing, it just does this. It just kind of like sinks halfway, right? And so it's a interesting thing because normally if you did buoyancy in a game, right, you'd put a box, right, somewhere along the hull. Usually, like, you'd have a big box for the main shape of the hull, the size of the vessel, and then you put a box at the end, and you put a box in the front to give it the kind of like back and forth, right? But then you want it to teeter left and right, and so like you kind of want a box on the left side, on the right side. But then if it flips over, you don't want it to, like, do weird things, so you need a box on top, right? And so they put all these boxes.
Except U-Boat has hundreds of boxes, doesn't it?
Yeah. So this is the neural network actually uses the actual mesh of the ship to figure out how it's going to float.
Wait, really? I thought.
Yeah.
The way you explained it, I thought the neural net uses the compartments.
that's for water being ingested, like not ingested, but water coming into the hull, right? So when it's determining how much water is where in the ship, right? Like as it's flooding, think of it as a simulation of small little boxes all throughout the ship. It's simulating how full is this box, how full is this box, how much water is in this box, and it goes and it cascades over into the next boxes adjacent to them. And as they fill up, right, the ship gets heavier and it sinks. But that's just the sinking simulation. So it's like a very basic cell block in the ship that's simulating the sinking of a ship. This ship basically doesn't even know the neural network's not working. It's not even running right now.
I have the feeling that using the little boxes mechanism for the flooding and a different one based on the actual shape of the ship for floating. I can see that as a myself an IT person, like the dev must have had this idea of doing something super great. And then they were like, oh, let's do this amazing thing, and they actually took the time to implement it, and then maybe they realized it was kind of too complicated, but it was a little sunk cost. So we'll keep it, even though they could have simplified it and used the box mechanism for everything. Maybe
Yeah,
that would
exactly.
have been simpler.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe they would have gone further with the neural network because it seems very well capable to do more than what it does. I mean,
the detail on these models are fantastic.
Right, that Thomas guy's really got some wild talent.
Well, pull up like a browser tab or something.
Does he do
a shout out for the fella?
Does he do any civilian ship? Because it would be great to have like a bunch of new cargoes and everything.
Thomas Behrens. I don't, dude. Honestly, he's probably gonna hate me if he ever saw this video. He'd be like, "You mispronounced my name every single time." I'd be like, "Yes, I did."
He does subs too. Wow.
Yeah, he does subs. He does a lot of different stuff. I mean, he even does like just single pieces, right? Like
he's from Belgium.
Yeah, he does like guns, right? Like standalones. And so some of these are like actually holy heck. You know what? Oh man, I just recognized something. These are the guns from the ships that he's built, except they're in much higher quality. And so I could technically replace the guns on the ships with this really, really high quality 13 millimeter.
Why do you hate
myself?
Why do you hate U-boat expanded users and their PCs? So
I was going to say you're going to destroy CPUs
even
more.
Oh man, I mean,
Link is single-handedly responsible for the burst of electricity usage in North America and Europe.
Right. And so he's got all these great models. I mean, so I'm not using the purchase models. I'm using his the model set that he developed probably 2 or 3 years ago. Which had slightly lower textures and stuff, right? The meshes were exactly the same, but I think he's improved meshing, like the materials and stuff over time.
They look good in the game anyway.
Well,
yeah,
this looks very similar to the vanilla production anyway.
And so these are ships
in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, they're very accurate, I will say. I think the vanilla game it has its own artsy flavor to a lot of the ships, and they're very great and they're very detailed. So the resolution of the textures very on point, right? But then on the D class, they're like, I don't want to deal with setting up guns here and here, and they're just like, just take them off. Where are they? Where are those MGs? They have an MG on near the, somewhere on the main hull or something, where that little. Was it the tower thing? I don't know. What's the tower called in a ship? It's not a tower. It's not like a conning tower. It's where the helm is and all that. It's that. Someone knows it.
A mast.
Yeah, not the mast, but this guy's very, very detailed. He seems to either have some insight into the actual design of the ship. He has a original design layout. And these are almost like War Thundery kind of model quality.
Mm.
It's just great stuff. So, when I saw someone discovered this and they were just like, check this stuff out, and I saw his work and I was just like, oh my god, there's so much here. I was like, I have to try, right? And then when I got the first one to like just load into the game, like not even a ship load into the game, just the mesh, right, to load into the game
Yep.
with textures. I was like, oh, it's happening. Like, there's, I was like, we have to do this. Like, I got one in, I know how to do that, and like now we have to do all the other stuff. And so
Yeah.
I've been doing all the other
Yeah.
stuff.
I remember when you posted the very first one that you managed, or even back then when you imported something, then it was like all white.
Yeah.
such,
Just the
such a
white
lot of
mesh, yeah.
progress. Such a lot of progress since then.
Do you happen to have
Yeah.
any with working guns that we could showcase?
Oh, abso-freaking-lutely, sir.
Really?
Yeah, like the one I'm sitting right in front of? Absolutely. So this is the Admiral Graf Spree, a Deutschland, yeah, Deutschland class. You know what? Just everyone forgive me now so that I can sin for the rest of this video. The Deutschland class cruiser, right? It's a cruiser. Yeah, this bad boy. He's got working guns. So one of the last things that I've been kind of working on, obviously, when I get the model of ship in, I get it floating, right? There's basically a ton of components on the ship that I have to get working, right? There's things like the flag on the flag mast, the guns being guns, right? The antenna, the radar, the engines, the propellers in the back, and the rudder, and all this stuff, right? So there's all these little
There's
like
also
pieces.
smaller details like trying to get the gunner's sights. I forget what they call them. The fire control directors.
Yeah.
Which are the
there's
little
things
turrets
like
mounted on the superstructure. They're supposed to turn with the fore and back turrets.
yeah. I haven't done that yet. There is
Yeah,
capability, I
there's
think,
one.
to do that.
There's one right there under the aft flagpole. That's a fire control director.
Yeah. I'm trying to get these to actually have people manning them during
They
combat.
look like that because they also act as rangefinders. So they have a kind of periscope at each end of the pole. Coincidence finder.
The big thing, not the small thing.
Yeah, just like the statometer, they create a double image and they try to get the image into a single image. And when it's a single image, that's when they have the range.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get those working as well. There's a lot of different components that like.
Hey, little dudes!
You know,
two dudes on top of each other.
Two dudes on top of each other. I think I was supposed to have. Yeah, and see this
hello.
guy's like. Right. So.
Yeah,
I actually had to redo the Admiral Graph.
There's some players out there that are just like, hey, add ships, do it now. It's like it takes work. I got to do the buoyancy. I got to do the compartments. I got to do the math. I got to program the guns. Do it. Do the roar. I don't like it.
Oh yeah,
Daddy, make him do the roar.
For someone that designed this game, I imagine, and that's the thing. It's like I'm not doing this because I know how to do stuff in Unity, right? I'm not doing this because like, oh yeah, I understand the coding concepts that the developer used, right? I literally am like, okay, how did they do it? And I'd go inspect their game with inspectors and stuff and try and figure out how did they get this little guy standing here on the ship, right? And I'd kind of figure it out, and I'd try it, and it wouldn't work. And I'd probably try 10 times to get this little NPC standing here, just chilling, right? And then I finally figured it out, and it's like, okay, I figured out how to get an NPC to stand there, not even do anything, not walk, not do crap, right? And then once I get that, I'm like, okay, well, let's copy paste that, into some arbitrary position on every ship, so that when I want to actually place these guys all around the ship, that I have a framework, and I kind of slowly build up this framework of all the things I've learned. Like, how do I set up a gun, right? What components, right? The guns aren't even as simple as you would think, right? You have to say, like, this is a gun, right? Here's the center point that it rotates on. Here's the point that the barrels rotate on. Here's the point where the barrels emit a projectile. Here's the, FX that I want when the projectile fires. And here's the recoil point. So, like, when the barrels fire, they should kind of recoil, right? And so there's all these little things that you work into the model and into these components that add obviously the detail that you would expect, right? But it's an insane amount of work, and I'm doing it by not because I'm like reading documentation or reading code or asking the devs. It's like, okay, try this, change one field on one component, right? Change it, rebuild the entire package, deploy it to the game, and then see if that did anything. And if it takes me 20 times, it's 19 times I failed, and then one time that I sort of got one step closer to what I'm trying to achieve.
That's a lot of mudding work like that.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. People are like, and people are like, like you were saying, like, do it faster, just do it now. I'm like, I am figuring it out as fast as you could figure it out, right? Like, I literally started with no more knowledge than any player, not even a modder, not even a coder, right? Just any player.
Well, not just modders, but I mean like game devs in general. A lot of people get pretty salty about the progress that devs make on their games being too slow or not fast enough. But
oh god,
really, we're all learning. I can understand getting mad at a barista for not getting your coffee fast enough because specifically their job to make that cup of coffee. But making a game is an art, not a science.
Right. And so yeah, it's just trial and error, right? Like, it's inspect their stuff, look at it, and the way I'm looking at it is like, a very hack-a-lackathon way of looking at Unity assets, and it's not ideal or pretty, and then trying to like replicate that in my own
Link,
way.
what are you doing?
Unity.
Why are you pointing that AA gun at that poor ship?
I know, right? Oh, let's hold on. I want to move back a little bit. Let's get some distance. All right, there we go. All right, where'd you go, baby? Honey, I'm home. There you are. So, oh god, I got a little twisted there. Fun fact: I got small MOFX working, which is a big deal.
So that's not normally in the game.
Nope, absolutely not.
So shooting your AA gun at the water does not normally make a splash.
Nope. Any small caliber weapon in the game currently does not make any splash. So I just shot at the ship, and his guns are now.
Not that I'm mad, but this has come a long way from you just wanting to add more realistic convoys to the game.
Oh yeah, and now they're.
Oh, I see.
And they're just lighting me up right now.
Can we see that? Don't look. I don't care about that. Look back at the ship. I want to see their guns firing.
Yeah. So the FX, I've been having a lot of trouble with it. The FX is actually playing, but it's for some reason stupidly small. Like, if we watch this barrel go, you'll see the smallest of smallest flames.
A tiny little poof.
It's like a tiny little poof. It's like yeah. It was there for a frame. It was literally
the secondaries. The secondary guns aren't firing. Oh yeah, they are.
They are.
Oh,
there you go.
Hey.
A little bit over the top on that one, but again, this is like, I'm just trying to get the FX to work, right? So it's a.
Oh, there was one.
Yeah, so I'm more on the stage of just trying to get something to work. I don't really care how it looks at this point. While I do it, I try and kind of tinker around and make things look better, or like move the progress forward. But a lot of times it's like, okay, why isn't the FX not working on these guns every single time, right? And then you just see it randomly pop up, and it's just like, hey, here I am. Like all the entire fleet just started moving.
You've activated them. Oh no.
Yeah.
What is that black smoke?
That's the gun.
From the other side of the shadows.
Yeah, I think it's lit improperly. So like, if you look at through the sun, it comes out gray. If you look at it from the shadow, it comes out black, right? That's like another thing that I have to figure out how to kind of fix. And I'm syncing at this point, right? So I'm.
Yeah. It looks
the entire fleet.
It looks like it's good, with all the small arms splashing as well. It's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I honestly that's probably one of the greatest.
Oh, what was that? What was I just saw sparks flying off of your conning tower?
Yeah, that's so when I implement ammunition in the game, I implement impact FX, right? So like sparks. So I make a little like emitter of particles that throw sparks and stuff.
Can you show us that too? Like, can you fire the deck gun at a merchant and we can see those impacts?
So I think I tried I tried to retain. Yeah, I should be able to do that. I got to quit because obviously I'm dead. But yeah,
In an ideal world,
God, you would have given me more time.
in an ideal world, U-boat would
It would have made me
have
smart.
special missions that you could join where you could actually witness Allied versus Axis battles going on,
Oh, my patch went through.
and perhaps even participate.
Oh yeah, we confirmed that the ships absolutely engage with each other. There was a player that found it occurring in UBE recently. Basically, it was just like, oh yeah, I saw a UBE, some Bismarck class or something. It was in his game, it's not the Bismarck, it's using the Nelson model. And basically he was just like leaving port somewhere, and he just a German warship group just randomly ran into a British warship group or a freighter group, and they were just hammering at each other. And
That's
I
awesome.
even for testing, I actually do that during testing sometimes just to like kind of see where I'm at, because I like to see what the vanilla game looks like when they're shooting and stuff, and so I'll put a vanilla ship in and see how like an F class handles and shoots and does its thing and how it turns and all these other things, right? And I'll kind of see how they interact with each other, and then I'll be like, oh wow, mine sucks in comparison, but it's progress, not perfection.
You should also save the game to make things easier on yourself.
Yeah, I probably should. But yeah, okay. Save new state file. Wait, let's do this before I do that. Let's get it nice and close.
Yeah, that's somewhere else. Yeah, that's the error mechanism.
Oh yeah, where it like tries to smooth out the game before it brings in. All right, let's try that. And now you said save the game. Now we're back. Oh, my game's really chugging right now. I think it's just loading everything. Yeah. So that's another interesting thing, right? When you're doing stuff like this, start discovering like something in the game, what parts of the game are under optimized or whatever I'm making is not correct and it throws errors. All right, you want to see the FX? Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, hey little buddy, this little
Who
guy,
is that?
my little favorite.
That looks like an American. It is an American. Bilal? Gato?
Yeah, Gato.
Gato.
El Gato. Right. No, yeah, I just got this bad boy working again. I had to do some
105 millimeter?
Uh,
I forget what the Gatos had for a deck gun. They had deck guns, right? Yes, they did.
and they had two. They had a big one and a bigger, or big one and a bigger one.
105, wasn't that?
Probably a 105, yeah. I mean, that's what we use today, but I don't know what we used back then. 105, Mike.
That's awesome, dude.
Let's get that.
I have every confidence in you that by this time next year, you're going to be releasing the American campaign mod.
God, no. Let's see if I can get it. So there's that FX, but then wow, my game is it's because of my Unity. That's
Do
probably
not
why.
look directly at the fleet.
And yeah, it's actually wow, it really is chugging for the fleet. Okay,
I think it's
noted.
because when you look at them, it tries to render the buoyancy physics.
Yeah, and you know another thing is I don't have LODs. So the ships that are so
Oh, no.
far away
No
are
LODs.
they are trying to render my
That's
GPU.
right.
No, my GPU is doing fine.
On a side topic, Ed is still working on the underguts that are revealed when you hit a ship.
Yeah. That's yeah. That's gonna be a real nice nifty one. I actually figured out how to do that one as well.
I could try to ask him to make low poly models for your LOD.
Yeah, if he knows how to make low LODs while retaining the shape, right? Like, because I know there's like a lot of like magic involved. Like you have to like define what vertices and edges are like don't fuck with, right? There's a lot of work that goes into it, and I've only started learning about it, so like I'm the worst person to try and do it. You know, like you don't want me to push out crap, right? Better to have someone that's done this, right? Can do it in probably maybe not a heartbeat, but much better and much quicker than I could ever do it.
The effects.
But yeah, that'd be
the
great.
Impact effects.
LEDs would be just absolutely phenomenal. All right, here we go.
I can see them. Oh, that looks so cool.
Let's see if we can capture one in range. Where's that round?
There was one.
Oh, there it goes.
Let's see.
Oh, I just saw it.
Oh, you know what? I just realized I don't think they're scaled with time compression.
Getting point blanked by some battleship guns. Any chance of you adding in tracers?
Look at the effects on the ship.
I added tracers. Yeah, I added tracers as well. Yeah, there's my crappy FX.
Oh, hey, I don't knock it. Like, it's better than nothing. Some effects are better than no effects, and I think it looks beautiful.
And that's the other thing. The battleships in game, like the Nelson and like the cruisers and stuff, like they have main guns, but like a lot of the smaller guns don't do damage, right? So like the small arms guns don't do damage, even though they should. Like 20mm gun, right, shooting down at you is gonna do damage. Maybe not a lot of damage, but like it's gonna put a hole somewhere, right? Especially when you're talking about a vessel like this, 20mm, 30mm, right? You know, some still pretty powerful weapons. When you give those guns the ability to actually apply damage, you know, it's significantly less than the main batteries that I just got shot with. The game really changes because I've had where I engaged the Admiral Graf and my entire deck crew just got wiped out. Just in a heartbeat. Like all the NPCs. If there was anyone on the deck, the entire like if I was close enough to a ship that was about to attack or do whatever, the entire deck crew would get lit up and just wiped off. Like they'd all just fall off. And of course, you're like, you know, currently in the game, if you can go deck barrage an entire fleet, right, with your 88, and you just be like, poo, bow, bang, you know, you're getting shot at, but you don't see it. You don't see the impacts. You don't see all the NPCs on the F class and all those other destroyers are shooting at you with their little 20mm or whatever, 13mm, and they're not actually doing anything. So those rounds are
not gratifying.
making contact.
Need explosions.
Yeah, it's not.
I need my unga bunga.
People always talk about how like, oh yeah, I can just run into the biggest fleet in the world and just, you know, do what McDougal does and fly torpedoes and then hit them with the 88 until everybody sinks, right? And I'm like, not when I'm done with this game. Like, you will like, if a freaking Isle class, was it a trawler? If that thing finds you with its deck gun, your little conning tower groupie is gonna be sprayed across the deck, right? Like It's a very intense change in gameplay.
Next thing is to have a hell let loose effect of body parts flying everywhere.
Oh yeah, and what happened?
Explosions.
So that I found that really interesting. One, like, I think I understand why the devs didn't do it because there's probably like performance impacts having FX on every round that can be fired, right? Especially if you have 10 ships and they can shoot at 50 rounds, 200, 300 rounds a minute.
Maybe.
There's probably like, I don't know. It's not there currently in the game, and it better be there by release. I mean, it's literally like a button click, and because yeah, it'd be great to see those smaller caliber weapons doing damage to your U-boat, so that when so that you don't get these people to get all cocky and say like, oh yeah, I can take out a fleet. I don't even need torpedoes, right?
And
Like,
the terrifying sight of those splashes getting closer and closer. Like, did you ever see the first Matrix where they're rescuing Morpheus from the office building?
Yeah.
And Neo shows up with the M134 General Electric minigun from the helicopter, and he fires it across the water, and you just see the plumes of water spouting up as they get closer and closer, and finally take out Smith. Oh,
yeah. With aircraft, it's great. It's great because like that's one of the things aircraft can't do right now. They can't do damage to players with their guns.
are you serious?
Yeah, they can only use depth charges. So
All
their
this time I
guns
never
are
knew
firing
that.
at you. Their guns are all the aircraft in the game. Even the one also the ones I currently have out in the world on a mod are hampered by the same thing that the game is, right? They use the vanilla guns. And so yeah, they'll shoot at you and they'll just be like pop, 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 and you just be like, oh,
Well,
whatever, smoke a cigarette.
Is that something the devs changed recently? Because maybe it's different between aircraft and vessels, but I remember getting harassed by those little motor torpedo boats, and their machine guns wouldn't puncture a hole in my boat, but they would injure my crew through the boat.
Yeah, I mean, I have never seen. So all I've seen is that when I put like what was it, the Spitfire? I put a Spitfire in the game and gave it some guns and gave it the right, fire capability and all that stuff. And every single time I get strafed, by one or two of them, and even if they weren't dropping bombs on me, they would still be able to take out like damage my crew. I don't think I ever got damaged. I don't think my ship ever got damaged, not significantly. Um, but yeah, my crew would get like my machine gunner would get lit up, and it was just like there was never a time where I was like, yeah, I can keep surface and keep shooting my AA gun at this guy. Like it was just like, yeah, keep replacing the crew with new crew members.
I remember when the Sunderland's waist gunners used to shoot at you when they circled you many patches ago, but the devs removed it.
Yeah,
hoping to see that pop up again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something about the FX or like the impact, right? Like because there's like impact effects and all that stuff. I don't know if there's just something in the game code that just says like you need all these components in the ammo that like just allows it to impart the damage or whatever, like the collision. I don't know.
Okay, so
and maybe they are shooting for real, but you can't see it. You don't get any impact from it. They could be shooting at you all day, and you would never be the wiser because you can never see the impact of the weapons.
You're adding custom ships to the game.
Oh yeah.
Working on the buoyancy. You've gotten pretty damn good with the buoyancy, but there's still some work to do. Making sure that it's a bit more realistic based on the ship's tonnage class, and some of the ships look like they're riding a bit light.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a...
Then there's also their turning radius, their acceleration, their deceleration, getting the guns to work, getting the effects on those guns to work, getting the crew to work, getting them to spawn in the correct place and walk around on deck in the correct place. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I'm as of right now, I'm not even like, I'm still working up to bare minimum.
Sounds
state.
daunting.
Yeah, the Admiral Graph is the only ship currently right now in this entire pack that could actually function as a ship. Like it still has missing parts, right? Like the FX is not there, right?
Yeah.
For the gun barrels.
But I would try do your best to try and work on one ship at a time. Try to master finishing one ship. The guns, the secondary guns, the AA guns, the crew.
You say that?
Torpedoes.
You say that?
The torpedo launchers. Have you gotten the torpedo launchers to work?
I've gotten the game to recognize there's a torpedo launcher. But I haven't gotten the torpedo launch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it will recognize that this is a torpedo launcher. It won't recognize that the thing I gave it is torpedoes. And then it also doesn't have the ability to turn. So these two gentlemen right here, ladies, these two ladies right here, when they shoot, they just shoot right here. Like, that's what would happen.
Well, that's to be fair. I don't think there's a single rotating torpedo turret in the game. All of the torpedo launchers in game currently are fixed torpedo launchers, including the torpedo
Tell
ones.
the game that this is a turret with no weapons on it, and I can say, you're a turret. Point at the enemy. Launch torpedo.
I see.
That's the plan.
We're doing it the Half-Life style, where we have to put a hat on a guy that's a train.
Yeah.
We've got to trick it into doing what we want. I see.
So this is like the closest one right now. So in game, this could function as a fully fledged ship, right? It's still got some rough edges, and I'm still working on it. And I totally get your like kind of like focus on one ship, right?
Just so you can like unlock the secrets of what makes a ship and U-boat function the way it should, and so you can develop a system.
So you have to understand that in order to retain my sanity but still make forward progress, like, so I've been doing this for over a year now.
I see. You got to buffet a little bit. You can't just have one thing on your plate. You get bored.
Yeah, and like you have to understand, like just getting the guns to work on this, I think took me 2 months of just every night. Right, like you have to understand 60 nights, right? 3-4 hours a night, and you'd go into Unity and you just click on something and you'd be like, this thing, this component, all right, this thing, and you'd go scroll through the components or whatever, and you'd be like, okay, the last thing I didn't work, so I need to try, this, and you go back and look at the game and you try and replicate exactly what the game did, right? And for some reason you just miss one little step and it just won't work. And the game has errors, like it'll give you errors, but they're not like handled errors. So it won't be like, the reason you're seeing this error is because this is missing that, right? It'll just be like null reference exception in here. Go read the code to try and figure out why it's a null reference. And you're just like, okay. And so you go read the code for a bit. That's not true.
That's how it works.
That's not true. You can handle your errors gracefully, and you can give idiots like me.
Yeah, but no reference error is never handled correctly. Come on, any kind of programming.
If you can make your code detect idiots like me trying to set up guns like me, and so yeah, you just like go through and you're like, oh, the recoil target shouldn't be this. It should be the turret point, and you switch it, and it doesn't work. And so then you go back and you're like, it should be the FX point.
How on earth did you teach yourself all of this? You have no background experience in Unity.
Trial and error, experience by failing.
No YouTube videos?
No, there's no YouTube videos that explain this game's code.
So you've just been learning Unity and learning how to mod all of this into the game, from scratch,
all at the same time. So it's insane, right? I'm getting faster. Like, there's some things that once I learn it, I'm like, cool, I know how to fix every single ship real fast, right? And so that's kind of what I've been doing. It's like, I'll work on this ship, I'll try and fix something about the Admiral, which is the most complete ship I have, and I'll be like, okay, I fixed this part of the FX, right? Now the FX appears sometimes, but not all the times. And I'll go through and change all the FX on the ship, and I'll like apply that one thing everywhere, globally, as much as I can. And then I'll be like, okay, at least we have this one little piece of the entire... It's like a puzzle, right? I have this one little piece. I don't have it connected to anything in the puzzle. The borders are kind of drawn in on the entire puzzle, but the entire puzzle just is empty. And I set the one piece just like with faith. I'm like, this is where the piece goes, but I have none of the connecting pieces to show you that this is where the piece goes, right? And and then sometimes I'm wrong, right? And then I have to like go back and unscrew what I did and like adjust my fire to how I designed something in Unity to match up better with what the game is doing.
Is there anything else that you're excited to show us and excited to show your U-Boat Expanded subscribers?
I mean, I haven't completely lost my mind, but I'm telling you, man, I getting all these ships working, and like look at these carriers, look at this boy, right? Like these guys, right? I've been working diligently to try and figure out why these guys are all fine. They're all happy, hunky-dory cats, but this homie right here, he's like, nah, dude, never. I will never bend to your will. I will float however I want to float.
Why are you like this? Why can't you just be normal?
Yeah. And I don't want to say like I don't have much time every night to work on these, right? Like and so like the amount of time it takes to compile and build and all that stuff and get into the game and test and then reiterate, right? Like I get like maybe 6 to 10 iterations a night, right, of testing. And half the time, you know, I had a long day at work and I'm like, I just want to play a game, man. Like I just want to go and play War Thunder. And so this hasn't broken me. This ship right here, this Yorktown class, which is not floating properly, it hasn't broken me, but I will tell you right now, I probably spent 50 hours trying to get this sucker to himself.
I've suggested this before, but one suggestion I can make to try and help you keep your sanity, but also help
Mental health is so important, guys. Like to everyone that watches this stream, oh god, it's so important.
I like the one that's so low there.
Log your progress. When you work on U-Boat Expanded, that's great. You don't have to keep to a schedule. You don't have to maintain it like an obligation. It's a hobby. You do it in your free time when you feel like it. That's fine. But when you're done for the night, just grab one of those salt and pepper.
When the tears start streaming down my face, I go back to playing video games like for the rest of the night or the next night even. I'll go I'll be like War Thunder or something and do something relaxing.
When you're done for the night, just grab one of those salt and pepper journals and write down in it what you did that day on U-Boat Expanded.
Oh, look at this. Oh. This bad boy's got...
That's an insane amount of detail that does not need to be there.
Yeah, dude.
Why do you hate your players? Why do you hate U-Boat Expanded players? Why are you punishing them? Why are you trying to melt their computers?
Look at this.
They're never going to see that.
I figured out how to do glass. I did glass, and then for some reason I couldn't get the glass over here to work.
Do you want me to make you some pinup art so they can pin it to the dashboard?
I mean, I put all the planes on the deck, man. Like, it's not the right plane, but like, it's a plane on the deck, right? Like the game does it, and I think it's so sweet. It's so dope. I'm so excited.
We have to talk about LODs, okay?
Oh yeah, you see that? You see how they're not popping in and out? That's because my GPU is gonna render this all the way out. It's still rendering this bad boys. 1 pixel, it's like, I got you, fam.
I got you, fam. Render the entire
Go see the one
okay.
that's super low in the water. There's one that's super low in the water, the one behind it.
Oh yeah, this
it's a little low.
Yeah, so carriers are actually the worst thing to set up with a neural network because they're just so big.
Because they have a complicated mesh.
Yeah, they're complicated. There's like, they're not, they're top heavy, right? The neural network even
as well.
Even training this thing.
It's a submarine hangar now. It's not an airplane hangar.
Yeah.
I can see why it would be a problem because you told me it uses the actual hull of the ship for the buoyancy calculations, right?
Oh, there's some mesh that's messed up.
Which is like a little... Okay, if we can just back up and talk about that for a second. That's a little insane, right? Anybody? That's a little insane that they would program that. That's insanely realistic because in real life, architects spend years of their life poring over blueprints. And if they don't like the width of the hull, like if the width is off or wrong in any way, the ship could behave in unpredicted ways or in ways they don't want in certain sea states. This was one of the problems with the Yamato class battleship. There was a huge controversy. It was a great documentary movie. In the planning phases of the Yamato, the draft was wrong. Anyway, so long story short, it's insane to model the buoyancy of these ships off of the shape of the hull. It's probably the best way of making it hyper realistic, but at the same time, it's probably going to kill GPUs.
Yeah, it's clearly the devs were like, oh, we want to make something great, as I said before, amazing, and maybe it's an exercise for them to develop something amazing, and then it becomes a bit of an overkill.
You
And
mean
then
the dev.
yeah, and then it's a sunk cost fallacy, and then they can't really go back to something simpler because they've already invested all this time and effort into this thing.
Hey, the Huff Duff. That's a radio direction finder. I happen to be an expert on that thing. About this very particular thing.
I'm sorry, but I need to go because I have to prepare for my flight.
No, how dare you have a life?
I'll keep listening, but I can't be on anymore.
All right.
All right, E.
See you later.
Enjoy your
Very
trip.
nice.
Thank you so much for stopping by.
Well, no problem. Very nice work, Link.
Yeah, I got so much more work to do.
I'll have to motivate myself to do more modding when I come back.
I need you to become a Unity developer and help me get this work done. Thank you. I need like 6 more of you too.
Well, we can try something. All right, see you guys.
All right, take care.
That's right. You have a channel on the U-Boat Discord server specifically for logging your work. Use it.
I do. I quite often do, actually. I post it and kind of talk about what I did.
The last time you used it was 2 months ago.
Oh, the logging channel. I was talking about like my journal. Yeah, I should. I mean, yeah. I get what you're saying, but you have to also understand, like, when I'm in such a time crunch. I mean, like, not in a time crunch. I am in a time crunch. I'm not saying I would like to have a semi-finished product around release, right? Even if it's just a few ships, right? Like, I'd like to have the Admiral Graph on the ocean doing its thing. And so when I'm trying on time crunch, it's like you're saying, like, hey, you're doing all this great work, but now it's like your manager's saying, I'd also like you to summarize everything you've done and send it in an email. Like, well, some people might be like, that's easy, right? Send it out. I'm like, dude, it would take me 20 minutes to formulate everything I did into a structured sentence and then type it out.
Okay,
and then send it
the reason why I think it's important is not just to keep your subscribers up to date with your progress. I mean, I'd be happy to do more of these streams with you whenever you feel like it and whenever I'm up to it. But at the same time, I think writing those reports would be therapeutic, kind of like explaining your code to the rubber ducky.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, that ship is missing the flag on the upper mast.
Oh, what is it? Is it though? Are you sure it's supposed to? Oh, wait, it's supposed to have one right here on that wire.
Also,
that
the
wire
detail
right...
on that antenna mast is insanely high. Look up a bit. Yeah, that detail, that antenna array.
Oh yeah. I mean, but yeah, this yeah, it's missing a flag right there along that line. I think some other ships have it.
Did we miss anything? Is there anything else you haven't shown us?
Game update. Wanted to talk about that. You mentioned the update that's coming out.
We could do that.
I'm stoked. I want the. I was laughing when people saw the dev diary and they're like, it's underwhelming, and I was like, this is the first dev diary of multiple.
In 6 months.
I know, right? I was like, give them a fucking break. They're like acting like voice lines is all we've done. Release the game.
Mr. Link, could you do me a favor and share your browser stream?
Yeah.
That way we'll actually get audio too. When you share your computer screen, we don't get audio. We just get the image. But if you were to share your browser specifically.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. I got you, fam. Bam. Let's do this.
Yes, that one.
Hi. Domo.
And let's grab that YouTube video.
What is that YouTube video? Oh man. News? Hell yeah, news.
Is that
Hell
McBreath?
yeah.
Is.
We've awakened the Kraken.
Uh-oh. I wanted to see how badly you guys were butchering this.
All right, here we go. We're watching the teaser.
Es liegt eine lange Reise vor uns. Ich habe ein gutes Buch mit.
Can you double check and make sure that's on HD? There, it loaded. It buffered. We're good. It's sharp. No, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up.
Das B1-U-Boot.
The eyeball.
The B1.
Stellen Sie sich vor, ein Flugzeug in
I
ein
know.
U-Boot einzubauen.
Mm.
So etwas können nur
Do you not have audio?
Yeah, we have audio.
Oh.
die Japaner.
Oh, they cut it off too soon. Go back. Go back. Go back. Go back.
Sorry, I could barely hear you over the.
Sanitator! Medic! Sanitator!
Kommandant, wir wurden von Estig geortet. Das ist nicht gut. Ich habe
No,
ein schlechtes
this is
Gefühl
not
dabei.
good.
Wait! Go back.
Oh, come on.
This is where we break it down and we look at stuff. Try to spot anything new. Do you see anything new with the user interface?
Hmm.
Not particularly.
No.
Oh, so I'm disappointed. The entire interior of the U-boat is blue. Like,
Oh, well,
I think years ago I suggested to the devs that they try to mix it up a little bit. Just enough blue bulbs to indicate that you're on silent running, but not so many that you're living out the Eiffel 65 music video.
oh, what happened there? Come on, man.
Kommandant,
I like
there was a way to
the
skip by
new
1
voice
second.
lines. Lots of new voice lines.
Mm.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy how much work it is to do voices. And I'm wondering, so I talked about this in a few different places. While it's not like actually adding the voice lines just in general is a pain, but it's doable, right? Like you figure out what situation scenario to make the voice, that particular voice activator or event occur. And you record the voice, that's a lot of work. There's a lot of work behind that, but once that's done, it's set up, right? The event happens, the voice goes.
That's
I've
on the
always
game
talked
side.
about,
But like
yeah,
on the other side of it, you need a voice director, someone to guide the voice actor. Like, no, not enough emotion. Give me more emotion. It has to be angry. You're angry right now. Read that line like you're angry. Like the guy just kicked you in the balls. And then you need the sound engineer to mix and match it perfectly to the game.
yeah. And not only that, you need multiple variations of it. Like, so it's not like in a good, perfect world, right? In really good high-end games, nondescript voices or like nondescript like action words will be recorded with like 5 or 10 different variations to keep, especially if, one, you don't want the same voice line read over and over again. Like, how you always hear Schneller, Schneller, right? That got annoying, right?
Yes.
And it wouldn't be annoying if there
Stop it.
but it wouldn't be annoying if it didn't say like Schneller, Schneller every single time. Like, all he's saying is what? Faster, faster, right? There's a ton of different things you can say to say exactly the same thing. Like, you could obviously don't want to say it for every single time you increase speed. Like, that's dumb. But like the statement of doing something faster, right? You could say like do it faster or go faster, or right?
Mhm.
Say faster twice,
But
right?
also
There's
with,
all these different
also with
variations.
different inflections too. You could do.
Inflections, right? Whispering it, right? And they talked about that in the game preview. There's all that work, right? And it's one of the things with like the ambient sounds. And I've always talked about one of the greatest things that actually makes games. People don't realize it until they start playing, especially in first person, right? You actually mentally catch on to it a lot more. You catch on to repetition in audio. a lot more when you have headphones and you're like in first person or even third person, right? Because you'll just hear the same sound, like a creak, right? Like a little creak, a ping, or whatever, a pop pan sound. But when games are like really fleshed out, right, they'll record like 10 variations of that and they'll slap it into that one thing. So every time you hear that one thing, you'd never recognize that's the same exact sound that you heard, 5 minutes ago because it sounds so slightly different. And it takes you out, it removes that like immersion, ripping it out, ripping you out of the immersion. And so I don't think they're going to be able to do all that kind of work because, like you were saying, there's a lot of just sound, like voice actors work that they have to do for this. But God, it's so easy to do it.
To be fair, as far as we know anyway, this is Deep Water Studios' very first game. And the publisher Playway is not used to such high quality games as this. Let's be real.
Oh God, no.
They're used to pumping out casual works in games. So this is a big project for them. If Playway is lending Deepwater Studios support, as some publishers do. Some publishers will send over other developers or other animators, other staff members that they have on retainer to help out that developer with that particular project. Like
that's exactly what they're doing here.
Here's some animators. Here's some 3D modelers. Here's our voice acting team. They're going to help you out. They're going to send you some voice files. You can put it into the game, yada, yada, yada.
That's even worse than that because they're probably like, hey, we'll give you 120 billable hours with said individual to work on your project.
Now,
and so you have
Playway's got the money.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that Playway does not have the talent. I think Deep Water Studios brought a lot of talent to Playway's portfolio.
Oh God, yeah.
I want to go back and talk about that Japanese ship.
That's the beginning, right?
Japaner.
Right.
So that is a really decent model.
Oh yeah.
Not an I-400.
Oh, yeah,
it is
no.
not. It is not an I-400. It's a B-1.
Yeah. They could carry, most Japanese submarines could carry airplanes.
But they cut this scene off before it gets to the good part where we see the conning tower. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
There's the hangar. There's the hangar right there, that long tube.
Yeah. With the watertight door in the front.
They have they have the same RDF antenna that's used on the U-boat.
And they don't have the giant deck gun either.
The Japanese deck gun was mounted to the rear?
Yes.
It had to be because of the hangar, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Link, speculate. Yeah. Why is this sub here? Why is there a Japanese sub in U-boat with this upcoming update?
I know, right? I know.
What could it mean? Do we finally have a Pacific campaign?
So, yeah, there was a little thing in the game that stopped the game from handling code when you were in an area of the map, specifically the entire Pacific region of the world. The game just doesn't do its thing there. It just stops. It saves CPU resources. I have a small inkling. They did one of two things. They either fix that, which is a very easy thing to do. It literally takes them 5 minutes to do it, I think. I have no idea. Or they brought a Japanese sub from the Pacific and threw it into European waters, which would be kind of weird. I'm hoping it's the former.
McBreath, go. Explain. Elaborate.
So.
Examine. Why would there be a Japanese sub in the Atlantic? Was there ever any Japanese subs in the Atlantic?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think so. There's no way in hell a VIIC would make it all the way to the Pacific.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So I mean, unless it's a monsoon boat, which would be a D2, but I have a vague recollection of there being a Japanese submarine in the Pacific. I'm googling it right now.
Dude, look on U-boat.net. They'll probably have some. Oh, no, they won't. They only have German.
Now, some players on the Discord server, the day of the announcement, were speculating that this is probably a special side mission where you rendezvous with the Japanese sub in the Atlantic for some kind of maybe transfer of officers or transfer of documents.
I-52 Code Type C3 cargo submarine, Imperial Japanese Navy, used during World War II for secret mission to Lorient, France. Then
No
occupied
kidding.
Germany, which he was sunk.
Really?
Yes.
So maybe the devs are recreating that mission.
Except that's a B1, not a C3, but whatever. Carrying cargo of gold to Germany.
Oh,
Speculation that a peace proposal. There's been speculation that a peace proposal to the Allies was contained on board, but is unlikely on 2 counts. There's no evidence the Japanese government was interested in peace proposals or negotiated statements in that stage of the war. Believed that 800 kilograms of uranium oxide awaited I-52 for her return voyage at Lorient, according to Ultra Decrypt. It's been speculated this was for the Japanese to develop a radiological weapon, a so-called dirty bomb.
holy crap.
It's also fitted with a snorkel device in Lorient. In addition, 35 to 40 tons of secret documents, drawings, and strategic cargo awaited I-52's return to Japan. T-5 acoustic torpedoes, a Jumo 213-A motor used in the long Focke-Wulf 190D fighter, radar equipment, vacuum tubes, ball bearings, bomb sights, chemicals, alloy steel, and optical glass.
So they were trying to help Japan advance technologically.
Yes. Submarines, built cargo carriers, quite long, carry crew up to 94. A long cruising speed at a range of 12, long cruising range at a speed of 12 knots. 20 were planned. Largest submarines ever built before the enormous Sentoku submarines were built.
Thank you for finding that, McBreth. I think that might be the answer. I think that might be why we're seeing a Japanese sub in U-boat.
Yeah. Well, it sure looks like one. 356 feet long, 3,644 tons submerged, 30 feet wide, range 21,000 nautical miles. 140 millimeter deck gun, which is giant for a submarine.
Now, do you think there was anything else special in that teaser video? I didn't see anything new to the user interface, unfortunately.
No, I didn't either.
They were showing off some explosions, but Link, you remember you're the director of this video.
Oh, I know. I know.
Stellen Sie sich
I was
vor,
actually trying to show the I-58 that I also have for the
ein
game.
Flugzeug in ein U-Boot
Oh
einzubauen.
wow, she was
So
sunk
etwas können nur die Japaner.
south of the Azores.
What'd you want to see, McDoodle?
I don't know. Just trying to see if there's anything else in this teaser that we could catch a glimpse of. Anything
I
not
mean-
immediately apparent.
Eine lange Reise vor uns.
Yeah, one thing I can notice, this homie right here, that's standing next to his little bridge watch. So notice he's talking and he has no animation other than like talking, which is new, right? It's almost like, you know how in Silent Hunter, certain officers, like the thing to do with them was like to go talk to them and be like, how is the crew? And they would tell you some generic voice
Oh
line
god,
like, my
yes, I
crew is
remember
fine.
that. That was so cool.
This character is in a position on the conning tower where he's specifically, his only role right now is to talk, right? And so I think I saw that in another case too. And it's also got an animation too.
Es liegt eine lange Reise vor uns. Ich habe ein gutes Buch mitgebracht, die Zeit zu vertreiben.
So that was interesting, where I noticed that.
Langsame Fahrt voraus.
Same with him.
Das B1-U-Boot ist ein beeindruckender Anblick. Stellen
So-
Sie sich vor, ein Flugzeug in ein U-Boot
I think this is gonna
So etwas
relate to missions. So like currently missions are very generic. You just talk to the guy at the dock, right? And it's just kind of like mission, right? Do patrol, go espionage, go
like
set up a radio,
like a
right?
proper cinematic where it actually kind of takes
But-
control of your camera
yeah.
and immerses you into the situation.
I don't think it's going to take control of the camera, but I think the entire mission. So I'd always tried in UBE to set up missions where there was like a start, middle, and end, right? Like missions were supposed to be in 3-part kind of, and actually follow along with the historical missions that were being assigned. And I could never do that. So I think the devs are kind of trying to do that, where your mission isn't just some arbitrary like go do this very generic thing. It's going to be like go do this long task, right? And it's going to have a series of events or, kind of interactions and, talk about, right, and events that occurred during it. So, and there was rumors that was kind of what they were aiming for. They didn't want to, while the sandbox itself would have the backbone to support generic missions, they wanted their campaign, it sounded like, to have these more like, like small storylines, I guess, rooted in history.
Hmm.
And this is what I think it is. And so like these audio lines and stuff that go with it kind of give it that life. Which is great because none of the missions have had that. I mean, you had the news guy, the news reporter?
Go back a few frames. Do you recognize this port?
This looks like Vigo.
Oh, the castle.
Spain?
Dude.
Yeah, there's
Spain?
a medieval fort
Vigo?
back there.
Check that. Someone look it up.
Maybe it's Malta?
No, Malta has a big
Oh,
hill.
wait, no, Malta. Yeah, right.
Or no, Malta is an island. No, Malta's... Wait, am I getting... yeah, Malta's that island, right? It might be Malta. Yeah, Malta has a castle. It got bombed the crap out of. What was that small island in the middle of the Mediterranean that was the British's, like, fighting point in the middle of the Mediterranean? It was the last foothold.
Wait. It says in the top left of the screen.
Grand Harbor. Grand Harbor. This says Brest. It says Brest Port. So this is Brestport. All right.
And what's the mission in the top right? Reach patrol area.
Is sink enemy trade ships, total gross. This is just generic.
Okay.
Well, that's the castle, all right.
Yeah, Brest.
Chateau de Brest, yeah. Chateau de Brest. Yeah.
I don't remember ever visiting Brest in game.
No, it doesn't exist yet. I mean...
Oh, so this is a new port.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, that's the castle.
So they're going to probably have Vigo, Brest. What's the other 2 ports that were never implemented? Saint Nazaire and Lorient. That's another one I'm excited for because
New
I've
York
been
is still a work in progress, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be in game. Oh yeah, it's still a work in progress today, but it'll be in the release. That one's not hard to set up. You just put in really big.
There's a Sutherland.
Now, on a side note, one thing I've seen a lot of players complain about is that ports don't really feel alive. Players can just sail in to an enemy port, and there's ships docked there, sure, but it doesn't feel alive. When a U-boat shows up in your port, you respond with a lot of patrol boats, call in the cavalry, call in the aircraft.
I think they said that was something that they were going to change in this point in time.
Also, this is worth looking at. What the hell are those?
Those are the
Are those the ferries?
Spitfire? Yeah.
The ferry flyer or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Fulmar.
Fulmar ferry. I just don't remember them having canards on the front like that.
They don't have canards. They have foldable wings.
The foldable wing sections.
Yeah,
wing only partially folds.
And it folds like that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a bizarre system.
Okay.
It's a crank.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. It looks like some kind of a futuristic plane folded up like that.
It was a very complex system, too.
It was basically a Spitfire body, and then they were like, oh, we need more room on the boat, and we need to have less foot space, or, like, area. And so
F-14 says Firefly, but it's not a Firefly. It doesn't have the cannons or the cranked wing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a good old war class tanker.
I was wondering if they're trying to show off the audio Because
Yeah,
like this
I
was
think they're just showing off of the dynamic voice lines. So no more minimala Shaden, but
yeah. Yeah. It's actually responses to the impacts and what they're impacting. I don't know what they exactly.
Ura, sie
Yeah.
sinken.
People like it was funny because again it was like people were saying they didn't do enough, and I was like, this is the first dev diary. Like this is just one thing they worked on.
Yeah, and if it's anything like the last set of marketing videos that Playway put out, I think we can probably expect a lot more of these videos. There were 6 dev diary videos, and each one got progressively more and more interesting.
What was the other things they mentioned in the? They mentioned some other stuff that they worked on.
DLSS, which is a NVIDIA upscaling system. It's designed for performance.
Cool.
It essentially lowers the resolution of the game, but then applies some post-effects filters to it, such as sharpening, to bring the quality back up.
I've not liked it a whole lot. It's I think it just it takes too much away from the detail.
Well, everybody's riding the DLSS train, and NVIDIA is touting it as a system that you can use for older hardware.
Yeah, then that's once again that's not my issue anymore. So
I also
one thing I noticed, and I'm not sure if this is just a placebo, if I'm just imagining it, but it looks like the underwater view is clearer.
It's a lot. Yeah, the distance is a lot further out.
it is.
It's significantly brighter too.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean there's no explosions. That's like the new render distance underwater.
That's always been a bit of an issue, is the render distance not right, being wonky.
Yeah, and the filters were there. The render distance when the game first released to the workshop or to the store, it actually was much further out, and it was just a patch that they did to the water to darken the water, like this, because it started out like you could see through the water everywhere, right? You could always just see like crystal clear, like awkwardly clear through the water, and it would have no like reflection. And then they changed it, and then they lost the underwater, like that render distance, and it was like that for.
I'm not asking for something as extreme as cold waters, where you can see for several kilometers out, but something a little bit better than driving through pea soup would be nice.
Yeah, I think they did that.
It would be kind of cool to see the hulls of the ships above you.
Oh yeah, and then they have the responses to doing like the evacuation of rooms when he set the
yeah.
So like turn off the lights. I imagine it's there. Evacuate the room. Bail out the water probably.
It says on the bottom there, evacuate the stern torpedo room.
So it's tied to these room actions. The room actions that you can do on each room. Or within each compartment, excuse me. What was the other one? I think there was
Let's hope they fix the idiot guy is opening the door back open again.
Mark my words, I think one of the next teaser videos Playway releases is going to showcase some new ships.
Yeah, I'd laugh my ass off if they talked to Thomas and they're like, hey, can we use all the models that you've ever done and just import
I'll take your entire stock.
I'll take your entire stock. And then they're like, hey, Link, stop doing what you're doing. We did it for you.
Yeah, right. I saw this a couple days ago when it first came out. I was going, oh man, poor Link.
I know, right? That's
he spent the last 3 months doing all this work, and it's just gonna go.
Link is the caveman chiseling out the wheel next to Michelin.
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
But we still love him. We still love everything that you're doing.
I know. This is one of those. It's funny because like the work I'm doing is like it's gonna take. It would take a team of people to get done what I'm trying to do, or it'd take someone that's proficient in their own game to do what I'm.
Start advertising. Start ringing the dinner bell. Start asking for help. I'll help. I'll help signal boost.
The dinner bell. Anyone that has Unity, anything, anyone that just wants to click a button, I will allow you to click all the buttons. Yeah, this cry for help. This is my therapy session that I'm gonna do with you guys right now. No,
Well,
it
trust me,
absolutely,
yeah.
it absolutely is. Like you know, like what was that big mega mod that they made for Silent Hunter?
One Alex
Before that,
or GWX.
GWX.
Yeah, GWX. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that one was made by like I mean obviously a lot of them were just contributors. Like they did one thing and they moved on.
But it was more than just
But,
one
like,
guy.
It was like 16 people, right?
Oh yeah,
And,
no,
I
they
mean
totally redid the game almost. I mean, it was
yeah, and it was a huge effort, and it was like I'm not saying like my effort is like as big as GWX. So they did a lot of like everywhere changes, right? But it's like damn the amount of work I'm doing. Like I feel I'm not gonna say it is. I feel like it's similar amount of work, and I'm like just pounding on the keys all day.
That's
I'm like,
okay.
it's
People have
gonna
already
take me
compared. People have already started comparing UBE to GWX. You are doing a lot of work. You're
Friggin-
putting the time in.
but it's gonna. I don't want it to take a decade just to get it done. I'd like to have
Well-
it done in like the rest of my lifetime, you know.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've heard it here. Link would like some help. If you know your way around Unity, if you know your way around 3D animations, 3D
You don't even need to
modeling,
know.
programming,
You know anything,
advertised in our Discord too.
or if you
right?
just want to help Link test, he could use
I will
those too.
teach you. I will do and yeah, it'll be great. I mean, there was a time where people were helping me with UB, but there was a whole list of people that were helping me with UB, and of course that was during the early days when there was big crowds and a lot of excitement and like a lot of enthusiasm and stuff.
We actually had time.
Well, the workshop had just been opened and everything. And, like there was all that, you know, that
Right.
oomph for people to mod, and like there was all these fresh mods on like I think it was B129 or B128. Even earlier than that, it probably like 124. And it's just yeah, and so there was a lot of people helping me, and then of course you know people move on with their lives, and of course me, I don't. I just kind of like this is my life, right? My family, you know, they're like it's our anniversary, honey. I'll be like I'll be right up. Just compiling one more ship, please. Next year, honey. Next year.
Also, hi,
Your
Panzer. I
daughter's
recognize you
amazing.
from the Discord.
I'm amazed
So-
he hasn't like kicked you out yet.
Oh, I know, right? No, she's just kind of gotten used. This is like my, you know how like there's like those old croaks that like live in their attic and they build that huge like town, like miniature town with a train and the people and the cars and the lights and all that stuff. And they like it takes them 10 years to build the whole thing in their attic. They just go
Right.
away after
Or-
dinner and they'll just like screw the kids. I'm gonna go up and hide in my room. Right? That's
Or
me.
or they build the car in the living room and then can't
Yeah.
get the car out. So can't get the car out the door because they built it totally.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. That's you know, it's gonna be something that I die and my kids are gonna be like, this was my father's dying wish that I'm not gonna carry on.
Well, Mr. Link, it is getting a bit late. Shall we recap real quick? Is there anything you haven't shown us yet?
No, I mean there probably is, but it's not worth going back to. I would
The
have
biggest thing
remembered it
is
if-
the new ships you're adding.
yeah, a whole metric ton of them, and
Oh yeah, it looks great.
it's gonna be it is gonna
Take
be
us
kind
back.
of like
change your screen. Take us back to the either Unity or is it
you were talking earlier about focusing on one ship, and I kind of wanted to circle back to that. It is going to be a kind of, I mean, I do go back and circle back to the Admiral graph quite a bit, right? And I mean the Admiral graph is what I touch base on every day, and I try and improve it and get something to work, right? Because that's where all the headway's being made, right? On that one ship model is. Every single thing that I've done to all these other ships is based off of what I've done to this one, right? And so it is very much like this one's almost complete, and I'm not going forward and doing every ship's guns and every ship's FX and every all those little components immediately, right? Unless I feel really confident with what I'm doing, like I'm like I really know how this works now, and I know how to implement it, and I'll go do that for all these ships, like the bow wake or something. But once this one is done, and I'm like, I got it, right? Like hands off keyboard kind of thing, right? Don't touch it because it won't break. I think once we get to that point, and I'm pretty close. Like you saw the FX working, it's just not reliable. You know, we've seen the ship floats well and does everything
the
well.
effects, making sure all the guns work, the torpedo tubes on the rear, the crew
that's another one.
standing where they're supposed to be standing.
The walking, that one's a hard one. I'm working on that one
too. The
too.
fire control turrets. Or the fire control directors.
That's just gonna have a dude
They
stand
don't even
there.
move on the stock ships, do they?
No, those are just gonna stand there. Those are just gonna be dudes looking at the port tube or the little fire director things. I got that set up actually. I'd had to delete it though. I had to delete it when I actually did for a while. I had two guys sitting in there.
You can
sitting at the lights and everything.
You could simplify it by just making the fire control directors behave like a turret, except they're not shooting anything. If they detect an enemy, they point at the enemy. Yeah, why not? It's just a turret, an empty turret.
Because it's more CPU load on the computer.
Wah.
I mean,
Well.
you'd be
yeah.
surprised.
To be fair, we're trying to tone back UBE, not make it melt GPUs even faster.
Right.
Yeah, and I haven't even gone through an optimization pass yet. I mean, that's going to be so far down the road that like that'll be something I do after like initial release. But once this ship, like because there's a few things that it's like kind of like I need to ask the devs for help, right? And they're kind of like, we're not going to help you until we release the game, and we're like kind of
like,
out of
bitch, we're
state,
doing our own thing,
right? and so like I get that, and I totally understand. You know, they have rumored that they said like, we want to see you be successful, right? We want to see your mod get out the door.
Oh wow! So they didn't totally poo-poo you and blow you off.
Like, yeah, they're kind of like, we understand that there are key things in your mod, like this mod, and which is going to be UBE eventually, right? That it's just they're not working, and you don't know how to fix it, and like, you could sit there all week and all year and the next 6 months and just drown away trying to fix it. But it could take us 5 minutes to look at it and be like, this is what you need to do going forward. And once that happens, right? So like, again, this is going to be something that happens after release. I get this ship working. I get everything about it on par with what I want to see. You know, I need to get someone that actually knows how to do FX in anything to actually build me real.
Crossing our fingers, but that is what the devs did with Fricoli and Ruby with their TDC mod.
Yeah. Yeah, and they helped out, and I think they had the opportunity to do that earlier. But once that happens, right? Like, let's say that happens immediately after release, and they give me some additional support to just kind of make headway on this. It's a very easy task for me to say, okay, I know how to get this one going, and I know how to basically copy that template into every ship that I have here and get them all, maybe not perfectly tuned, but working, right, in a working state. And then at which point it's sit down with one ship and just sit there and tune it and refine it. And then that only takes a week or two process. Move on to the next, move on to the next, move on to the next.
Before we wrap this up, this mod did originally start out with attempting to model more realistic convoys into the game. If I can ask you about that, how is progress on that going?
I mean,
have you made any tweaks or edits or improvements to the overall convoy system?
Not the code or how it handles the code. So like the same limitations of the code are still there, but when these ships are working as I add them, what will end up happening is I'll be able to add definitions for these ships into the convoy data so that I'm not having to rely on
Panzer 38 just
rely on the vanilla ship models. And what that will allow me to do is have it generate much more accurate convoy data. So like if the Alabama, or maybe not the Alabama, the specific ship class, but like you'll see actual battleships, right? So like when a battleship is in the convoy, right, it always throws in the Nelson. That's annoying, right? At least now when the convoy has a battleship in it, it might be the Alabama or the Nevada or some other battleship, right? And I'll still do the same kind of model reuse for ship classes, but once this gets implemented, it's going to be you run into a convoy and you're not, you no longer have to say, oh yeah, the F class is, sitting in for the Littorio and the E class is sitting in for some other American destroyer or something, right? That doesn't make, I mean, while it's a limit of what I can do and what I can provide, once all these are in, right? Like you'll see a ship and you'll be like, I've never seen that before. There's 70 new ships that I have planned for the pipeline, right?
Still blows my mind that your convoy data is so intricate that you've modeled specific ship classes to be inside those convoys.
Oh yeah, it's a headache.
Like just throwing a ball at the wall here, but like a convoy heading out of New York, what kind of ship classes could the player, ideally when UBE is further down the road, what kind of ship classes could they expect to see in that convoy heading out of New York, say 1940?
1940, I mean, probably just some destroyers, maybe like if it's a coastal group, it might be a carrier, right? If it's not actually crossing the Atlantic, but by the time you get to 1943...
An Atlantic crosser. One of the big cargo convoys.
So yeah, I mean, eventually you'll start seeing battleships, right? Because there was they wouldn't be really, they wouldn't be tied to the convoy. So that's kind of one of the things I can't do, right? I can't make a warship group follow a convoy, but I can put
warships inside the convoy. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I can represent a warship group that crosses the Atlantic. I can create a convoy that crosses the Atlantic. I can't make them like shadow each other, which is really what would happen, right? Like you would have the big 150 ship U.S. convoy moving out to Britain, right? There would be 150? Destroyers, 250 sometimes, yeah. Dude, some of these would pull up ships from all the way down like the coast of South America, all the way back up to New York and then across. Yeah, it's huge.
Oh, Tomcat, let me put it to you this way. I don't think there is an authority alive today that knows more about convoy formations than Link right here. Link is one of the few people, the person who compiled archives of convoy data into digital format. In fact, I keep bugging him. He needs to submit his work to a museum. It belongs in a museum.
Yeah, no, he needs to call the National Archives and probably the place in the U-boat archives in Germany.
Some educators have even wanted to use some of his Google Maps videos for one of their classes.
Nice.
You remember them, I think. They came by one of the streams.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's just,
ton of feedback on that. I mean, yeah, the videos are probably the best representation of what I did with that work.
I'm hoping we can still make progress on that at some point and make a fully interactive Google Maps website thing out of that.
I know, that's really
U-boat, yeah.
Yeah, that would really be the dream there. I think if I ever do finish this mod, either I die or I give up or whatever. I mean, one of them is going to happen first, right? We don't know which. I will circle back around and go back to working on that because, one, I've gained some expertise and maybe doing something a little bit better and implementing that better into a website kind of GUI so that people can interact, like do what you're talking about, right? And get a better feel of how much data drives that mod and how much data is just present in like those archives, right? And tying those all together, when you tie all that information together, right, and put it into one cohesive picture on a map, right, it's a world of information. It's just like, I mean, because there's those three huge archives, one of convoys, one of ships, one of, just the events that took place in news, and you just link them all together with some quick maths and stuff, and suddenly it becomes, you get basically a top-down picture of the whole world and everything that was happening at a pretty broad level, but still down to a very intricate detail of everything that was happening at every moment of time, like every day, down to some very fine minutia of what.
I was helping Link out, trying to parse all the data that he was collecting, and how do I say it? While I was helping him, I was looking at receipts for purchase orders of merchant class ships to even the companies that purchased them, who they were transferring them to, ownership. We got pretty deep down there. The
You'll
data
have
that
to
Link
help me
has
some
is
of this
phenomenal.
data, because this is the stuff that I collect, you know.
Yeah.
Now,
So
what's really great, if I can, so we're on the best timeline because in the past few years, there's been a huge resurgence of interest in naval history. You've had War Thunder trying to develop their Navy branch. You've had a huge resurgence in World of Warships. There's like 5 different U-boat games being made right now, and in general, naval warfare games.
What?
You've got
No,
U-boat,
that
you've got
many.
Crush Depth. What is that one? Wolfpack, and then there's that Pacific warfare game.
Is there?
Yeah. Huge resurgence in naval warfare interest, and I love it. And so UBE is a great project, but also there is so much good coming out of this U-boat expanded project, such
yeah,
as
just
the
the sheer
compiling
amount
of all that information.
the sheer amount of history we've all collected because of this. I mean, I've got a whole section of my Google Drive devoted to U-boat stuff. I mean, it's just right. I totally agree.
so this is going to be our ending
Whoa, hey, that
little
ship is taking off.
fireworks. Yeah, that one's really taking off. So there's something wrong with it. Again, this is
Let's
one of
go
those
look at
neural
it.
network.
Oh,
This is one of
he's
those neural network
zooming.
issues.
Is this 1x? No time compression?
This is 1x. Yeah, this boy is hauling,
Okay, bye.
and all these other
I'm
guys are
not
like.
sure.
So
I'm
I
not
just made
sure
the
they could
fleet.
go that fast.
I mean, look at the wake. That's like a tsunami.
Right.
Yeah, and some of these ships are. Some of
Oh,
these ships like
French,
get up to speed very quickly, or some of them get up to a speed that's not.
Oh, yeah, look at that wake. Holy crap.
Hey, the
Could you-
Italian ships.
Could
are
you manually
tall
spawn in
ass.
some enemy ships for them to shoot at?
I don't think we're at war yet.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, right.
Now,
Yeah, if you
But it's always-
spawned all these different variety of ships in there, it would be a shoot fest.
now let me tell you the definition of insanity, Tomcat, because you misheard and thought that was the missing piece, convoy data. No, that's not the missing piece. The missing piece here is that we have a talented Mr. Link working on a project for a game itself that isn't fully released yet. A work-in-progress mod for a work-in-progress game. That is the definition of insanity.
And every time they release a major update, it all goes back to square one.
Almost. I mean,
Almost,
pretty
right.
close. I mean, for the users, it goes back to square one, which is waiting for me to get it back to a state where it works again.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it ends up being pretty crazy.
All right, boys. What time is it? Oh, 11 o'clock. Oh. Yeah, for some reason, these boys don't want to move. So,
God, those Italian battleships are gorgeous.
Mm. It'll be nice to see those sailing around Malta.
Oh yeah.
I got to go.
All right.
Boys, it's been a great time.
It's been a
I gotta
pleasure.
go.
Link,
Take it easy.
thank you for stopping by. Macbeth, you too.
Always.
Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Gonna try to do one next weekend if Link is up to it, and if I'm up to it, and we can pick his brain some more about U-Boat Expanded and the work he's making. So until then, stay fluffy, my friends.